Learning is always effective when it's from known to the unknown. With a strong foundation in mother tongue or local language, a child can easily make a shift to learning another language. The interest, enthusiasm, and creativity of learners, as well as a teacher, is at a different level when they teach in local or regional language. Without denying the importance of exposure of more than one language leads to higher synaptic activity in the brain of a child, and the multi-language processing leads to higher mental agility. The mental flexibility transfers to all areas of brain function. In the first session today, we are discussing taking higher education to grassroots, advantages of teaching and learning in mother tongue. I take the opportunity to welcome and introduce our guest and panelist, Professor Dilip Malkhede, who is the session chair. Professor Malkhede is a Vice Chancellor at Sant Gadge Baba Amravati University, Amravati. Professor Malkhede has served as advisor at AICT. Out of his long list of contributions and credits, few of them is initiation of Smart India Hackathon event, which Professor Saswita talked about, that world's largest open innovation challenge competition it is. And the way he streamlined Prime Minister's Special Scholarship Scheme, PMSSS. Earlier, there were lots of discrepancies were there, and then Professor Malkhede sorted out, and flawlessly it has been exercised now. And few various special schemes for funding for students and faculty members. Welcome, Professor Malkhede.
Thank you.
Another guest is Professor Arya Gupta ji. Professor Gupta is serving as Vice Chancellor at Rajasthan Technical University, Kota. And under his, recently the university, all university departments have been accredited by NBA National Board of Accreditation. Professor Gupta has also served as Chairman Rajasthan DISCOM, which is Rajasthan Energy Department of Government of Rajasthan. Welcome, Professor Arya Gupta. The another guest is Dr. Ashwini Sharma ji. He is serving as Vice Chancellor at Symbiosis Skill and Professional University, Pune. He has also served as Director General, NILET, Ministry of Electronic and Information Technology. His contribution at NILET are endless, especially magnifying the turnover of NILET, opening new centers in the remotest areas of Northeast and Ladakh as well. So thank you, Ashwini ji, for serving in a great capacity at NILET. The next guest is Professor G.K. Prabhu ji. Professor Prabhu is Vice Chancellor at Manipal University, Jaipur. Professor Prabhu has been honored by National Academy of Medical Sciences for his contribution in biomedical engineering. Also, he has been acknowledged by Government of Karnataka for his contributions for local community. He is recipient of Udupi Kannada Rajyotsav Award for his contributions. And another guest from industry is Lakshmi Patliri ji. Lakshmi ji has global experience of leadership roles in finance, technology, e-commerce, and digital media in various organizations like IBM, Jabong, etc. She's co-founder of Jabong.com. She's an angel investor. She's a recipient of several awards, including Women Entrepreneurship of the Year. Welcome, Lakshmi ji. So to begin with, Professor Malkhede, thank you for accepting our request for being in the show, and it's good to see you again.
Thank you so much for the invitation, and pleasure to be with you all. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You're audible. As rightly said in the topic that taking higher education to grassroots, you have taken higher education at Delhi at higher level, but now it's time to talk about the grassroots. So what is the problem, nature of problem, and the magnitude of problem when it comes to grassroots level?
Yeah. First of all, we should know what is the volume of the grassroots that we have in India, and that will only indicate the amount of efforts that we need to put in. as I see it, and as I talk about in many of the fora, is that our country is really a very rich country and educationally very qualified people are there. However, the people in the country are poor. So how can those two contrasting things, appear in our country? It is because there is so much of economic inequality. As you all probably know, 1% of, or to put it, a little precisely, 63 people in India have captured the wealth that is equivalent to government of India's budget. And that budget amount is about 25 lakh crore. And this huge amount of wealth is amassed by 63 people in India, right? Other fact is that 1% of the people, in the similar fact, 1% of the population in India has captured 75% of the country's wealth. It means remaining 99% of the population in India has about remaining 25% of the wealth. So much of inequality, and that therefore what we may say is our country is richer, but people are poor because large number of people are poor, and therefore this topic, in my opinion, is very, very important. I would like to congratulate the organizer for conducting a debate on this topic. And we need to therefore put our efforts in developing that size of a grassroots, and that's huge. It's a huge population. As our Honorable Prime Minister talked about and has been talking about since beginning for last 7 years, at सबका साथ सबका विकास, क्योंकि उसी में है देश का विकास. Okay, about for 125 years we know what Vivekananda has said. You read any book, any speech, Vivekananda has been talking about massification of education, development of all. That's what our current Prime Minister talks about. And we all are dreaming about India becoming Vishwaguru. Now, question is, can only 1% people, make this India Vishwaguru? What is the contribution of remaining 99%? Is the question. And therefore, if everybody need to put in efforts, I think it will not be very difficult for our country to become Vishwaguru. And that's what China, precisely has done. In China, you don't find so much of inequality. In Europe, you don't find so much of inequality. However, in India, we have, and these are the facts, and these are the fact figures given by RBI, government's figures. Where not, these are not my numbers. And in my opinion, even if you provide a good ecosystem, good education to the grassroots, no one can stop India from becoming a Vishwaguru. And the developing country, what we are called as, will certainly become a developed country. We know Norway, Switzerland, Sweden, USA, Singapore, Germany, these are all developed countries. We are not a developed country. We are a developing country. Developing, but how long is it going to take? Our respected APJ Abdul Kalam also had seen a dream. 2020, he said, we will be developed country. But 2020 is now ending. We're still far away from becoming a developed country. And the only solution is to improve the living condition of the grassroots. And education is the only medium. Education is the only medium. And that is what I wanted to stress on here. And but the challenge is, there are many challenges to it. 1.1 lakh schools in India, 1.1 lakh schools, huge number, have just one teacher teaching to first standard to fourth standard. teaching all the subjects. See how challenging it is. So we need to change the system, and lot of investment is probably required. And probably we will all have to put in the efforts. It is definitely not possible only for the government to do it. I think involvement of all of us, private sector, is very much required to make this country a educated country. And once we are educated, I think we will be a developed country. I hope that's a good starting point to start a debate on.
Right, sir. Professor Malkere, thank you for throwing with the statistics. The problem is huge when it comes to grassroots level. The grass is greener at city level, but when it comes to rural areas, the remote areas, the accessibility, the availability, the connectivity, several big issues are there which are required to be addressed. Now, moving to Ashwini ji first. Since you have been into trainings and teaching and skilling, all three domains. So in your opinion, what way the role of language is there when it comes to adopting, exercising technical and skill education?
Good morning to all dignitaries on the eDais and of the eDais as well as my participants. Before I take up this agenda, I think let me congratulate the organizers and of course the AICTE also on three parameters. One is that we are in a seminar conference which is going to happen whole day. We are talking about all those verticals which are very much a part of the NEP 2020. I think this is happening first time where the skilling, the use of technology, even the parameters of NEP 2020 and other all issues have been taken up. Second is that it is starting on time. That's the beauty which I was discussing with Shahz Buddha sir in the morning. Is a punctuality also need to be taught in the education system, which we are lagging. That's the reason we are not, we do not have a very good image when we go outside. And third is that we are having this conference when we are celebrating the 75th Independence Day. That is, Amrit Mahotsav. I think I must congratulate the organizers and all those who are the panelists and participants. As far as your question is concerned, see, language play a very important role. There is no doubt, because if you see, we say that mother is the first teacher of his children or child. And one of the reasons is that whatever language she knows, she tries to give maximum to the child or the children at that age when he is not able to understand who is my mother, who is my father, who is my well-wisher, who is my enemy. And I think if we go into detail, the language has been given 7 regulatory or 7 roles to play. One of them is the regulatory function, where the language is used to influence the behavior of others. For example, let's say I am giving a command, I'm making a request. So that become a regulatory function. Then second is when we are talking about interactional function, what we are doing today, where we try to create social relationship with each other. And similarly, the personal functions, where basically we use the language to express our preferences, maybe let's say emotions, personality, opinion. Then similarly, we have a representational function, where we use language to exchange information. And then comes the heuristic function, where basically we use to learn and explore the environment. That is basically a part of teaching also. And then of course, imaginative function, where basically we use the language for creating imaginary system of ideas and also to tell stories and jokes. And the last one, which is the 7th function which a language performs, is basically the instrumental function, which is basically to express what the people need or what is expected, what the citizens are asking. I think these are the common functions which a language plays in day-to-day life, whether it is in education or whether it is in business. But as far as the education part or skilling part is concerned, the language play a very important role, because if I remember correctly, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam sir also used to say that education should be imparted in regional language or local language, preferably because that nurture creativity. That is a very important activity and it helps to understand the subject easily. Why I'm saying so? Because half of us may be speaking in English, but first of all, we do something in our brain and transfer from CPU to a printer, that is the output device. So that conversion takes time, and sometimes we miss out the things which we want to really convey, because the communication is very important and the learning part is very important to understand. So I think it is being well said that the learning of a student in the mother tongue starts from the day he is being born. And basically, if you see the developed countries which we have been discussing, whether you take China, you take Japan, you take America, you take UK, you take France, all these countries have been teaching or have been imparting education or skill in their own local language. It is only the country, maybe we are few among the few countries where we are imparting higher technical education, and I mean we feel proud speaking in English. So I think that is what I want to convey over on this platform, that definitely we need to learn English, but definitely on the other side we need to encourage. That's the reason in NEP 2020 emphasis has been given that up to class 6 education has to be in local or maybe vernacular language.
Rightly said, Ashwini ji. भाषा संप्रेषण संवाद का माध्यम है, स्तर का नहीं, ज्ञान का नहीं, जानकारी का नहीं. Now coming to Professor Arya Gupta. Gupta sahab, namaskar. Sir, you need to unmute. On the
namaskar Puneet ji, namaskar.
Welcome to the program. On the one side, we are putting our efforts through making policies and providing different channels to enhance the gross enrollment ratio. But contrary, because of language barrier or maybe lack of interest, the dropout rate after the first year of the course is quite high. So especially from the students, those who are not English speaking. So in what way adopting this change of teaching in mother tongue, especially at higher education, can help to control this dropout rate?
Yeah, Puneet ji, very interesting question. And this is the really burning question as on date. Language you are talking, dropout you are talking, and admission is also one of the factors that you are not asking actually, but it's okay. Puneet ji, there are 5-6 factors that we have to consider. First, parents, and they belongs to very small places. What Professor Malkhede conveyed and what Professor Ashwini conveyed, the same thing I want to convey in different way. Parents, very key persons. Then second, student. Third is teacher. Teacher who is basically having another role as a mentor in the institute. And then institute environment, background, and language. These are the 5-6 factors, and very, very important. First of all, you just think that the student is coming in the institute because their parents wants. Because the parents also doesn't have that idea, that knowledge, that where they have to promote their student to go. लेकिन क्योंकि वो देखते ही नहीं है, उनको पता ही नहीं है, they belongs to a very small place. ये पहला फैक्टर है. और 90% students belongs to villages, जहां पे हम अपनी रीजनल लैंग्वेज में ही बात करते हैं डे 1 से डे लास्ट तक, अभी भी. फिर सेकंड पॉइंट आता है स्टूडेंट को जब इंस्टीट्यूट में वो आता है, तो क्या होता है कि जो टीचर होता है वो मेंटर की तरफ काम नहीं करता. देयर इज अ ग्रेट गैप. स्टूडेंट आ गया और आने के बाद में टीचर्स उसको इंग्लिश में बात करते हैं, दे टॉक टू इन इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज. क्योंकि ये अभी जो अश्वनी जी ने कहा कि हमारा ऐसा वो बन गया है बैरियर कि अगर हम इंग्लिश में बात नहीं करते हैं का मतलब है कि हम जो है पिछड़ गए. अब मैं आपको एक बात बताता हूँ पुनीत जी, इसको बीच में थोड़ा ब्रेक कर रहा हूँ. When I went first time to Switzerland to present my paper in a conference, the title of the conference was Intelligent Control of the Drive. So the drive was common, but the control was intelligent. It's a programming. Control is a programming. Different programming. So these students, if we consider them drive, तो इनका प्रोग्रामिंग ही नहीं हो रहा है. ऑल स्टूडेंट आर सेम. सबका एक तरीके का डेवलपमेंट हम कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि कभी भी कहीं भी टैलेंट को सोच के अलग अलग जगह पे भगवान ने जो है नहीं भेजा है. यहाँ इंटेलिजेंट लोग आएंगे और यहाँ इंटेलिजेंट लोग नहीं आएंगे. तो ये तो सेम ड्राइव है. इसका प्रोग्रामिंग कैसे करना है, इसका कंट्रोल कैसे करना है, यही उसको बेसिकली अच्छा बनाता है. So now when the student is in the class, teacher is not talking, and you know this, ये थोड़ा सा इसको ये समझना पड़ेगा पुनीत जी कि ये जो इंजीनियरिंग या जो एजुकेशन है, ये ऐसे नहीं है कि हमने किसी को अगर 2 साल 3 साल बात नहीं करी तो भी कोई बात नहीं, ये डेवलप हो जाएगा बाद में. ऐसा नहीं है. ये सेमेस्टर सिस्टम में चलता है, और सेमेस्टर में भी हम इसको डिवाइड करते हैं. एक सेमेस्टर में 6 months and we have to divide 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, 4 month, 5 month, 6 month. So पहला महीना जो है, जो फर्स्ट मंथ है, अगर उस स्टूडेंट को जिस इंस्टीट्यूट में गया है वहां पहले ही मंथ में अगर उसको प्रॉपर मेंटरिंग नहीं मिलती है, और उसको अगर ये कहते हैं कि ही बिलोंग्स टू विलेज, ही डजंट नो इंग्लिश और इससे कोई बात नहीं कर रहा है, तो यहां से उसका डिप्रेशन शुरू होता है. आप इसको अगर थोड़ा समझने की कोशिश करेंगे तो, और आपका जो ये जो बेसिकली करिकुला जो आपने डिवाइड किया है, 6 सेमेस्टर, 8 सेमेस्टर, व्हाटएवर, it is very systematically divided. This much of the lecture loads, this much of the practical load, and this is only basically the student can handle in 1 semester. अब अगर पहले ही सेमेस्टर में स्टूडेंट को प्रॉपर एनवायरनमेंट नहीं मिलता, वो बैक बेंचर हो जाता है, मेंटर्स उससे बात नहीं करते हैं, तो उसको अगर पहले सेमेस्टर में वो 2 सब्जेक्ट में चला गया, फेल हो गया, तो आप समझ सकते हैं मैं क्या कह रहा हूं कि सेकेंड सेमेस्टर में उसका लोड 1.5 टाइम हो जाता है. अब यहां से ये मान लीजिए कि उसको लगता है, यहां से स्टार्टिंग है ड्रॉप आउट की, उसको लगता है कि आई एम नॉट केपेबल टू डू इट. लेकिन ऐसा तो नहीं है, क्योंकि ड्राइव तो सेम है, प्रोग्रामिंग ठीक नहीं हो रही है. तो आपको ये करना पड़ेगा कि एक तो सबसे पहले उसका इंटरेस्ट, जो कि पेरेंट्स को जानना पड़ेगा, जो मालखेड़े साहब कहा कि वो कहां जाना चाहते हैं. ये ओपन बेसिकली ये ओपन माइंडेडली हमको सोचना पड़ेगा. पेरेंट्स को ओपन माइंडेड होना पड़ेगा. पेरेंट्स को भी ये कहीं से मेंटरिंग लेना पड़ेगा कि उसको पहले से जाना जाए कि इसका इंटरेस्ट क्या है. अभी आपके न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी में तो आपने जो मल्टी डिसिप्लिन करके बेसिकली आइडिया डाल रहे हैं कि वो बच्चा अपने इंटरेस्ट का सब्जेक्ट जैसे म्यूजिक है वो ले सकता है. अब आपने इसको मल्टी डिसिप्लिन में लिया है, उसके इंटरेस्ट के सब्जेक्ट को, कि वो म्यूजिक ले सकता है. वो पहली क्लास में उसको क्यों नहीं हम जान पाते कि वो म्यूजिक में जाना चाहता है, क्योंकि हमारा उस तरीके का एक सिस्टम ही नहीं बना हुआ है. तो यहां से जो है बच्चा फर्स्ट सेमेस्टर में जब उसको लगता है कि नाउ आई एम नॉट केपेबल टू डू इट बिकॉज उसका एक 2 सब्जेक्ट में बैक आ गया, यहां से उसका ड्रॉप आउट शुरू होता है. तो ड्रॉप आउट के 2 रीजन हो गए. एक तो उसका अपना इंटरेस्ट ही नहीं था उस एरिया में आने का, तो 50% लोग तो इसीलिए डिस्टर्ब हो गए. उसको कहीं और जाना था, उसको इंजीनियर नहीं बनना है. इट इज नॉट नेसेसरी कि उसको इंजीनियर बनाया ही जाए. अगर सचिन तेंदुलकर को कहा जाता कि आप जो है किसी मूवी में जाके एक्टिंग करें, तो आई एम श्योर कि वो बहुत जो है टॉप क्लास कोई एक्टर नहीं बन पाते. लेकिन बट ही इज ए वंडरफुल क्रिकेटर.
So as per you, 2 big issues are there. One is interest, is language. If we can at prior to the college education or higher education, the dropout rate can be controlled. And the dialogue with the parent is quite essential with the faculty members. और भाषा का जो व्यवधान है, क्षेत्रीय भाषा में जब हम काम करेंगे तो पेरेंट्स का एक जो साइकोलॉजिकल बैरियर है, that will wipe out. Right, sir?
एक्चुअली पुनीत जी, मैं इसमें ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि देखिए, जब कोई भी बच्चा आता है तो किसी भाषा के साथ तो नहीं आता। आपने जब टेक्निकल एजुकेशन को इंग्लिश में शुरू किया, आप उसको हिंदी में भी शुरू कर सकते थे। टेक्निकल तो टेक्निकल है, उसको समझाना है कैसे समझाना है, लेकिन हमारा डेवलपमेंट जो गांव से हमारे पेरेंट्स से होता है वो हिंदी में होता है, तो हम उसको एकदम से समझ जाते हैं। अब यहाँ पे जो अश्विनी जी ने कहा ना कि हमने एक बैरियर लगा दिया कि हम पहले इंग्लिश में उसको सुनेंगे, फिर उसका इंटरप्रिटेशन करेंगे, फिर हिंदी में इंप्लीमेंट करेंगे। तो लैगिंग हो गया एक्चुअली में, और इस लैगिंग के टाइम में आपका कार का एक्सीडेंट हो जाता है, बिकॉज आप तो इंटरप्रिटेशन में लग गए और कार कहीं जाके फिट जाती है। इसलिए क्या है कि ये अपनी जो लोकल लैंग्वेज है उसको सपोर्ट करे इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज। यहाँ उल्टा हो रहा है, इंग्लिश इज मेन और हमारी लोकल लैंग्वेज का सपोर्ट ही हो गई है। सो मेन लैंग्वेज के साथ सपोर्टिव लैंग्वेज को लेके आना पड़ेगा।
Thank you, Professor Gupta. Now coming to Professor G.K. Prabhu, rightly said that there is a lack of belongingness when the text is being taught not in their own language. So in what way the teaching learning process in the regional language can enhance the sense of belongingness to make it impactful or make it more acceptable?
Morning, Professor Puneet and all other co-panelists. So first of all, thank you very much for this opportunity and very good topic that we have chosen. Yes, again, taking a higher education to the grassroots level, and one of the main topic that we are discussing is higher education in the local language or in the mother tongue. And of course, I belong to a state Karnataka, and all my education till the higher education it happened in Kannada. Okay, so and the first time when we went for a higher education, my own experience, the first 2 years is really a very what do you say tiresome, and many times, as Gupta ji mentioned, I also thought many times to withdraw from my course and go back. This is the difficulty that I had, because Puneet ji, everything that any person who thinks, the thought process goes in the mother tongue, okay, or the language in which you study. For example, my mother tongue, although it is Konkani, and all my education had happened in Kannada. So as Gupta ji mentioned, anytime, whenever you have it, most of the time that our effort was done in interpretation, finding out the correct word and try to understand it. And in the whole process, it was very, very challenging and difficult for me, especially, maybe for many others too. And when I went for an engineering, it would be another kind, especially reading maths in English. It was very challenging because in all others we have an alternative words. And during the classroom, although I had many questions, queries to ask the teachers, because of this barrier, as Dr. Ashwini ji mentioned, that I never raised any of these questions. Questions remained with me. And even in the final year, during my course, there was one subject which is called as comprehensive Viva. And there is no written, it is only the question and answer. And because of the challenge that I had, especially on the languages, although I know the answer, but I could not put forward, and I failed in that examination. It took me one additional year to complete my engineering. 4 years programs I took for 5 years, just because of the language barrier that I had. So today I don't have any hesitation, even as a vice chancellor, I will tell that yes, I took an additional year to complete my engineering. I don't have any hesitation, but those periods are a very, very difficult and very tensed. And today I'm happy because I have the control on 2 languages, both in my local language as well as in English. So that is the one advantage I'm telling at this level, but at the student level, it was a very, very difficult to put it. But now the answer to question is, if it is known at my own level, the thought process would go on much better. I could understand, and my application of to the knowledge would be far superior, and I could have done much better. That is what I did during my student life. Of course, today I'm happy that I'm doing or putting my own effort to do that. Now, the question what I'm telling you is not to convert every higher education into a local language, no. But an option must be given for a student in case if he has a difficulty of the language barrier. So that is what it is. So if that option is given for the student, definitely the belongingness for a higher education would be much better. It is only an opportunity in the higher education institution or a university like us. Maybe technical terms, as Dilip ji mentioned, we need to keep it. But understanding all those things, it must happen. And we must also keep it ready, because when we talk about higher education, Punitji, it is not only engineering, medicine and all. Higher education comes in the languages, the humanities, there would be a philosophy, many other things. Of course, most of the time that when we talk in higher education, there is a perception that everybody thinks that how engineering, how we can teach in local languages. No, higher education means many other fields. Engineering is basically one of them, but we must also prepare them for the employability to compete with the multinational companies and all. As a university, it is our responsibility. We will do that. Okay, but there are many other the streams. I think we need to. If it is a law, a legal education, look into that legal education. Why everything it has to be only in English? And if Rajasthan, if my student becomes an high court judge, and most of the time that he is fighting for the local issues, don't you think that he must be fluent in his own languages so that he can directly connect to his clients? So we need to make that kind of a choice and provide this kind of an opportunity, which will truly gives that belongingness to the university. The student will be happy to come to the university, dropout rate will be there, there will be no hesitations, and everybody will be happy and proud. Okay, see, when a Chinese come, and if he comes with the interpreter, we don't talk lightly. When the German comes with his own interpreter, we don't take it lightly. But if there is an Indian person goes with an interpreter, okay, so we think that, oh, this is the low level, he doesn't know the English and all. So that mindset must go. Okay, so English is a great language. We have the great advantage by knowing and speaking that, but by the same time, the larger crowd must feel that belongingness, and that is something which we can come, provided if we give that opportunity for that child to also think and learn in his own language. I'll stop it here, Punitji. Punitji, you are on mute.
Thank you, Professor Prabhu. So blockage is not there between the lips, it is there in the mind. So now coming to Lakshmi ji, you have explored your potential in various capacities, right, from serving in the various departments, various portfolios, to entrepreneur, to angel investor. So rightly said by Professor Prabhu that language is not at all a barrier in employment. So your take on this particular issue, if a candidate is being taught in the regional language or the local language, in what way it is going to help a candidate or develop a new perspective of employment for any individual. Lakshmi.
Thank you, Professor Sharma, and thank you to Trigen Technologies for organizing this very interesting topic for discussion, and thank you for inviting me. I am surrounded by a very esteemed panel. Most of them, I think, are PhDs and obviously highly accomplished academicians. So I feel very privileged to be amongst such a highly accomplished panel. And I've heard some of the thoughts. Obviously, I echo many of them. I agree with many of them as well. Coming to your specific question, I will make a few broad comments and then maybe come back to your question. I think Dr. Prabhu mentioned, definitely giving an option to students to choose if that is a possibility. I'm sure that's not an easy option from a logistics and implementation perspective, but that certainly will play a huge role in, because it is very important where the student comes from in terms of what has been the foundational language. I can, in my case, obviously my mother tongue is Telugu. I come from South, I can speak and, from Chennai, but I can never think in a vernacular language, even though my mother tongue is Telugu. It is only because in my house, my mother, who's only 10th standard, she always encouraged amongst us 3 sisters to speak in English throughout. Till date, as 3 sisters, we have never spoken in any other language besides English from the time I can remember. I cannot think in another language either, but I can speak very fluent Telugu, fluent Tamil. With my parents, I speak Telugu still till date. That's my primary language, default language with them. So it all depends on, how you are also nurtured at the home, in the social environment, as much as circumstances. Second thing is in many schools, sometimes, you can put a student in English medium, but the mentoring, again, that was also mentioned. It's not only in colleges, but mentoring, I think, throughout and the environment. In my school, for example, it was penalized if we did not speak in English because I went to a convent. But it is not implemented with that rigor in many places, whether you go to English or whether you go to any other medium also. So I think so many things like these also play a role in whether English or vernacular and all that shapes, how people think. Personally, I feel, again, early on languages, it's been proven, so many studies have shown that, a child has ability to learn multiple languages early on in life, and knowing more languages develops the brain. There's, I think, and of course, I'm a believer of vernacular languages. I feel like there is a lot of, especially, of course, Sanskrit as a foundational language, or each language has very deep origins, whether it's from Sanskrit, whether it's from Latin, Dravidian languages, etc. So there is a very deep creative element that develops, like, of course, cognitive abilities have been demonstrated by using Sanskrit, which is why they say all of the traditional slokas, etc., are very powerful. We only see them as in a religious connotation, but there's a much more deeper brain development that happens in some of these Hindu slokas or Sanskrit slokas. So those are some of my broad observations across, whether it is English, whether it is non-English and vernacular languages. Coming to the workplace, right? Obviously, a lot has been spoken from the academic perspective, but in my workplace, to some extent, I have worked both outside India and in India. And there was a time I worked at IBM, for example, and I would see a lot of people who came from simple backgrounds where English was not the primary language for their education or the way they speak, and I could see how that created a little bit of a vicious cycle for them, especially in a dominant culture where English is the primary language of business, and we all work, unfortunately or fortunately, where, in metros at least, where English is the primary language of business. So if somebody is educated from vernacular and sees their life and their career working in an environment which requires English, it is a bit of a disadvantage, not even a bit, a little more than bit, because what happens is there is a challenge in comprehension if that is the primary language at the workplace. Second is, maybe you may speak a vernacular language, but other people, even if they want to help you and support you, they cannot speak your language. So they will end up speaking English. So there is a gap in comprehension, understanding. And this causes frustration when you don't understand. It causes frustration because you don't understand. It causes frustration because sometimes you are doing things which are different from the expectations. So that is creating an environment where people you work with also are getting frustrated. Invariably, it impacts your own confidence if you are the one who's the victim here because of sheer lack of language strength, right? So that creates a lack of confidence. And then this becomes a vicious cycle, just like in academics, like Dr. Prabhu had mentioned, that one, you fail in 2 subjects, by year 2, you have 1.5, more load than in some of your peers. Same thing happens at the workplace. Then you start having low performance, low confidence. You don't socialize also because of this, because of which your network building abilities get impacted. So the ramifications are plenty. So it is very important, if somebody has strength in vernacular and the predominant language of thinking, communication has been vernacular, they have to find an environment will nurture and develop them to succeed in that environment. And I'm just sorry to say that not all environments are going to be that way. It's not right or wrong, but it's not going to happen. So it is important to make sure that if they have access to career counseling in colleges, they get some guidance on this. Second thing is, a lot can be done. I think earlier there was a mention about, being, I think Dr. Ashwini Sharma mentioned, teaching them how to be punctual. Right? These are soft skills. Second thing is also soft skills, irrespective of whether they come from a vernacular or non-vernacular. I think across all students, especially going into the workforce, I think this soft skills is very, very critical. Going on time, and to a large extent, I've seen when people move outside India, we are much more good about, adhering to the local requirements. We go above and beyond, people shine. But when it is in our home environment, we are very comfortable. We take it for granted. Baju wala bhi wahi karta hai, hum bhi wahi karte hai. So it is okay, accepted. So we develop that, culture. And it's sad, but it is true. Our ability to accept all this makes it easier for people to conform to what's the average. We're not looking to excel. The other thing, I've also seen people struggle, especially who come from very deep vernacular backgrounds, is, I think, again, this was mentioned, many of the technical terms, they tend to be also translated. And this happens a little bit more obviously in government institutions where all the technical words are translated verbatim into, the local language. For example, if you're talking about internet, it will be Antarjal or something like that. And, we don't need to make this so hard. We can use all of the normal English words. Physics, like you can't, translate viscosity, acceleration, kinetic energy into the literal Hindi or local language words. So I think across, we have to sweep and make sure we use the globally accepted English terms for technical words. And just like how a lot of, when it comes to food, we've been easily able to adapt burgers and pizzas, go to tier 4 towns, burgers and pizzas, everybody knows sandwiches. Go to metro also, it's the same word. So some kind of uniform terminology and language is essential. And I'm sure, movies and all of this exposure is generally making it easier for them to adopt. They know a lot of English words, parents, mommy, daddy, hero, heroine. All these are words that are becoming part of, normal vocabulary. It's not universal to any vernacular language at all anymore. So I think some of those are very critical in helping some folks who are moving from vernacular to move into succeeding at the workforce. And perhaps if especially where the vernacular is the primary form of education, as universities and campuses, if they take some extra effort to help them bridge that gap, and even employers, when you have campus recruitments, working with the large employers have the ability and interest. For example, there is a very large, good company in Chennai called Zoho. It's a SaaS-based company. What they have been doing is they're going to rural places and hiring people. And they have a training program to onboard these folks. And of course, the training program, one is from a technical perspective, but also a lot of other soft skills to help them blend into the normal workforce and give them the skills to succeed. So I think if some of the employers can also be guided, and I feel like most of the large ones are open to it, if we also steer them towards that. And mentoring, which can be employed even at the workplace, at the campuses, both places, I think is an excellent tool also that will help people handle some of these challenges that we are seeing in the environment. I will pause there, Professor Sharma.
Thank you, Lakshmiji. Well said. We need local for local needs. The only thing that the transition of international language of work, the nomenclature, the terminologies are needed to be adopted. And that's what we have already been exercising in our day-to-day life. Like we use electricity, not Vidyut Dhara. Not Sanganak, it is computers, mobile. These are all nomenclature of vocabulary which is from English language, but well accepted in any regional language.
Puneet, Dr. Puneet, just I will like to clarify some doubts which has been raised by a panelist. I think AICTE or any technical education has never debarred anyone saying that you have to teach everything in particular language, or maybe let's say Tamil, Hindi, English. Definitely technical terms and terminologies are to be used in English only. Whether there is a capsule course built into the education system, especially for engineering colleges, where anybody who is either, for example, 20 engineering colleges have opted this time for teaching in Hindi, Marathi, Kannada or Tamil, but they've been asked to conduct 3 weeks capsule course in English every year, so that student is well aware and able to understand. But definitely the terminology like capacitor, resistance, Newton's law, this all will remain as it is, because you can't transfer. Even if you ask me the Hindi of computer, I can't be able to say how you spell out computer in Hindi, although I may be very good in Hindi. So I think I do agree with our member, and I think she is very right that we have to build it into a system where we use both the languages. Let's say mother, father is very common now. So we have to go with this only.
Well,
one more
Ashwini, Rin Vidyut ki Abhyantriki is not that easy to even speak. Electronic engineering is a nomenclature which is extensively and commonly used. Moving to
Puneetji, do you
you
hear?
have
Yeah.
made things simpler. You are a man who has made things quite simple. So there is a big challenge of providing learning resources in regional language or local language. So in what way, in your opinion, these challenges can be overcome, providing learning resources in regional language?
Who is supposed to answer?
So my question is, the challenge is,
Question is to whom?
I'm raising this question to you, Professor Malkere.
Oh, thank you. Thank
We
you.
have worked together, so
Before-
I know that you are
Yeah.
a man who makes things simple.
Okay.
So
No,
this difficult
I
question
just
is
want
for
to,
you.
thanks, Dr. Ashwini Kumar. You also clarified, and I also want to clarify certain things which are raised by the previous participant. Is she there? She has, I think, left. Okay. So what impression was given is that there is a total change in the medium of instruction. That is not so. Suppose you have 10 different programs. Maybe in civil engineering you have 2 batches, class A and class B. Maybe institute can think of changing the medium of instruction of class A to a local language, and let us see whether the students opt for it. For your information, we had conducted a survey, and we wanted to see if the students are really interested in learning in mother tongue. And to your surprise, around 40% of the students agreed to opting for the education in their mother tongue, and that 40% was a huge number. If given an opportunity, if not 40%, at least 30%, 25% student would be opting for the learning in mother tongue. Now there are some particularly civil engineering example I would like to give you. See, civil engineering students, particularly diploma students, they study in mother tongue up to 10th standard. Then they go in for 3 years diploma in civil engineering, and after that, most of them work on civil construction sites. Okay, so during the 3 years of diploma only, they study everything in English. Before the diploma, after the diploma, they never use English. So up to 10th standard, everything is in Marathi or Hindi, their mother tongue. And on the construction side, yes, of course, they talk to the labor, they talk to the contractors, they talk to the suppliers, they talk to the buyers. The medium of communication is the local language. then why do we insist English language only for their diploma? I'm sure that if you give the opportunity to them to start learning in the first year in mother tongue, I'm sure the students will opt for English in the second year. At least, you know, the BTech students, first year, they need help. And most of the students get puzzled actually when there is sudden change in the medium of instruction. So it is not change of medium across the country. It is only in some of the institutions. And that too, what AICT says, what Government of India says is that this medium of instruction, change in medium of instruction should happen only voluntarily and only in good institutions. It is not in any other institution. It is only in accredited institutions. So that the people understand that these quality institutions only are giving opportunity to change the medium of instruction only in few of the classes. So it is only offered by quality institution. That's what I wanted to say. Another point of confusion is that the entire change in the teaching learning process, entire change in the even the technical terms, are they going to be translated? The answer is clear, no. All these technical terminologies are going to be the same. The student or engineer, civil engineer will continue calling it as column, beam, the structure, computer, electronics, all these terminologies. If you translate, it will become more difficult. Student will prefer English then than their own mother tongue. So that's not going to happen. The lot of translation of the books has taken place. I myself was having a responsibility of translating these online courses. You are all aware that there are very good online courses on SWAYAM platform. Okay, and they are offered by IIT faculty members. Quality courses are available. Students are taking that. We have taken up the translation. We had taken up the translation of these courses, and we have very successfully translated all those lectures of first year. First year being the target now. We have translated all those lectures, and these lectures are available now in Hindi plus 7 more languages. So 8 languages. Now the problem with India is that we have multiple languages. I also would like to make a mention here that there is a strong relationship between the development of a country and the medium of instruction. Now let us look at the medium of instruction in European countries like German. Their school education, even higher education, technical education is German language. Then Spain, a smaller country, but they have Spanish. Even smaller country than Spain, the Portugal, they teach in only their mother tongue. China, Japan, these are other few examples. So they promoted their education only in mother tongue. I think they have one language, but we have a greater challenge because our mother tongue is not one. We have many 22 languages, you know, are given in the constitution. But to start with, we had focused on 8 languages. Now we expanded to 12 languages. So all 12 major languages are taken up in the first year itself. So for your information, our courses and books are available in these 12 languages, and that's going to make a great impact. As Ashwini Kumar Sharma sir also mentioned, that in the very first year, there were about 20 institutions who opted for starting their courses in mother tongue. Doesn't mean that we are going to change the medium of instruction throughout the campus, only for some of the programs. And very successfully, we could do it in 5 languages in the first year. So let us start with 5 languages, and I think next year there will be a greater response. I am a very strong supporter of the education in mother tongue, and we are going to do some experiments in my university also. Over to Punitji.
Thank you, sir. It is a time-proven formula that once the subject of technology or any knowledge is being imparted in their own mother tongue or own language, the learning becomes easier. And you have rightly quoted example of Spain, German especially, they are excellent in their technological products as well.
We
So-
translated in just few months 2005 hours of lectures. 2005 hours of lectures were already translated and made available to students.
So challenges are not bigger if you are determined to bring the challenge. So thank you, Professor Malkade. Now coming to Ashwini ji, to you. Now the technical and software skills are also integral part of any skill university. A skilled person is useful for a whole across the world. In what way it is difficult or easy to develop a content in a skill education?
Punitji, I think you have touched upon a very important aspect, since Honorable Prime Minister has been talking about vocal for local, and we have been talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat, New India. Now, when we are saying skilling, we are mainly targeting skilling for the traditional industries also. And I think when we are talking about traditional industries, it is by default imperative that we need to develop a culture of skilling and education imparting in local language only. जैसे आज मुझे जयपुर की सांगानेर प्रिंट की चद्दर प्रिंट करानी है और ये प्रिंटिंग इंडस्ट्री के लिए काम करना है, तो मुझे वहीं के लोकल लोगों को पकड़ना पड़ेगा, उनको हायर करना पड़ेगा और मुझे उनको लोकल लैंग्वेज में ही स्किल देना पड़ेगा. What I mean, by default the system, the way we are thinking, we have been targeting, I think it has become by default imperative. Now definitely सबसे बड़ा जो चैलेंज है वो यही है कि जो हमारे कोर्स कंटेंट हैं या जो हमारी चीजें उपलब्ध हैं आज की तारीख में, दे ऑल आर इन इंग्लिश और मे बी सम लोकल लैंग्वेज. तो कोर्स कंटेंट क्रिएशन इज वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट चैलेंज इन लोकल लैंग्वेजेस, एंड आई थिंक वी हैव टू स्टार्ट. ऑल्दो AICTE has come out with a very good solution where they are able to convert within a span of 1 hour or so all course content, but still development of course content in local language will be a challenge. I mean, I don't say it is impossible, although since as I said that AICTE has come out with a solution, but still we have to work on that part. And secondly, we have to also work out on use of technology. जैसे कि आज हम Zoom की बात करते हैं या हम कोई और प्लेटफॉर्म की बात करते हैं, हम देखते हैं शायद इंडिया में कोई एक दो ही प्लेटफॉर्म इस तरह के बने हैं, जैसे कि एक अपने राजस्थान जयपुर से अजय टाटा जी का बना है वीडियो मीट करके. तो जब हम बात कर रहे हैं और हमें पता है कि आज की तारीख में वी आर गोइंग फॉर ए hybrid mode of education, I think somewhere we also have to think on using regional languages or local languages or vernacular languages in our technology delivery solutions also. I think these are the biggest challenge. And the third and most important is हम किस तरह अपने टीचर्स को ये प्रेरित करें, ये उनको उत्साहित करें कि वो लोकल लैंग्वेज में पढ़ाएं. जैसा कि मैंने बताया आपको, एक सोशल स्टिग्मा है हम सबके दिमाग में, यदि हम इंग्लिश में बोलेंगे हमें एक अलग तरीके से देखा जाएगा, हम अपनी लोकल लैंग्वेज में बात करेंगे. और इस बात के लिए मैं माननीय प्रधानमंत्री महोदय का बहुत शुक्रगुजार हूं कि वो कहीं भी जाते हैं, चाहे वो विदेश में, वो अपना भाषण हर वक्त हिंदी में ही देते हैं. तो ये जब हमारे में भावना आने लगेगी कि वी यूज्ड टू हैव यूज्ड आवर नेशनल लैंग्वेज, मदर लैंग्वेज और आवर रीजनल लैंग्वेज, देन वी विल बी एबल टू मोटिवेट आवर टीचर्स आल्सो टू गिव लेक्चर्स एंड डिलीवर लेक्चर्स इन द रीजनल लैंग्वेजेस.
Thank you, Dr. Ashwini. It may take some time, but it is not impossible to develop the content. And I'm sure people, those who have undergone training in their own language, they will be useful for the society. Now moving to Dr. Ari Gupta ji. Hello. Sir, are you there? Ha.
I am very much there.
शैतान का घर होता है. Once a person is unable to complete his education or pursuing his education without interest, they become either non-productive, less productive, or notorious, and they get indulged into some social crimes. So in what way, because NEP is about holistic development in addressing all the problems, So in your opinion, teaching in regional language, will it be helpful to control this all non-productive activities?
Puniji, first of all, I would like to say that in basically the main threat to the student is dropout. First. Second is the pass rate is very low. Pass rate is very low. Third point is that they are basically when they are in technical education, they don't enjoying their basically process of learning in engineering or technical education. Teachers, what we have in the institutes, they are also having very low knowledge, and they don't have that deep knowledge to create the interest in the students. And then placement. These are the things basically. So students are afraid to come in the technical education. The admissions are going very low. First thing. Second thing, what is happening when we are not able to, once the students are in the institute, they took admission in the first year and they are not able to complete even the first year dropout, or they are not completing their degree, then they are not getting job. But definitely they are good student if they are in the right stream. So now once they are not getting their degree, and then they are involved in different activities. They are intelligent student. They have mind. So they apply their mind in the non-productive activities. This is very, very important. You know, just to consider it that suppose we have 100 students and 70% students are afraid not getting degree in time, or very low percentage, or drop out, what they do. So this is the great problem. So either they should go in the right direction, or they should basically either they should get degree. The placement for an engineering student after coming out, the placement is 2 lakhs rupees, 1.5 lakhs rupees today. So, and faculty also, we don't have very good faculties. Number of institutes are very high. So this is the, I think Malkhede Saab will appreciate it. The engineering colleges, polytechnic colleges, are so many colleges are mushrooming in there, and we don't have good faculty in everywhere. So what we are doing, we are not giving complete education to my students, not giving. Even the faculty members not properly learn it. So this is the great problem, and because of that, of course, the local language will improve it, but certainly we have to look upon this factor. So how the students can come once they are in the basically technical education, how they can come with the without back and complete pass. How it is possible? You know, teacher, they are coming without training in the class. Today he completes the degree, tomorrow he is in the class. He is not able to teach the students. He is not able to create interest in the students. They are not proper mentor. They don't know how to basically talk to the students. Many times, you know, Puniji, they say the students are from the villages. Students don't know English. So how can we teach them? So you can do one thing, refuse to teach the students coming from the villages, and refuse students, they don't have the English knowledge. Then student will not be there, because students are coming from the villages. So we have to learn how to basically teach these students, how to streamline these students. This is the great problem. You have to think about it. Thank you.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir. Now we are left with 15 minutes. Would be able to take one more question, two more questions. Coming to Professor G.K. Prabhuji. We have witnessed when it comes to innovation, we have created many unorganized solutions named as Jugaad. So a student who is being taught in their own language, as they're in the campus, teaching in their own language, will it help to enhance the rate of innovations or entrepreneurial activities within the campus?
Yeah, so Puneet ji, yeah, so as I discussed and mentioned earlier, maybe to some extent it will help them to understand if you introduce the local languages. As Lakshmi ji mentioned, it purely depends upon what is their thought process. As he mentioned, mother tongue need not be the only one reason that everybody will think only in the mother tongue. No, it only depends upon how the environment for that child in the early childhood and the school days. So as I told you, the universities need to be slightly more innovative in engaging these students. For example, we must be open enough. Yes, if there is a difficulty for them to understand, we need to provide an opportunity or an ecosystem to teach them in the local languages which they can understand better and relate better. But it does not mean that everything that we will take it to only the vernacular background. No, another very important and very good responsibility that each education institution in the higher education we need to do. We need to teach them in a medium where it becomes a more competitive and global. See, so one is giving an option to them to understand. The second part, once they understand, we must also tell them this is an important thing that need to enhance their skills. I'll give you one incident which happened in our university, especially for an MBA program. When the recruit people, when they come, although technically our people are so sound, okay, so but they were not in a position to clear their recruitment. And the recruiting officers, they used to come and discuss with me, sir, the main difficulty with your student is no fluency in English. And we are the multinational companies. Majority of our clients are from the other countries, and this mode of communication is very, very important. So otherwise it could be a very difficult, and in our company, we can't spend time or energy by teaching them in English. So, and immediately Puneet ji, we made an effort, and I called all the students and I said, I don't mind in spending an additional resources for you, but you need to spend a little more time in learning this English. And I also told them, see, as a human being, our brain works so fast, and we are good in understanding the languages at a faster rate. And that is the skill that an Indian generation has shown. Any Indian generation, if you see, they have a multiple languages they know, which other countries, they don't have it. But when I told that to a group of students, and immediately, Puneet ji, there are a couple of students give me a challenge. Sir, aapko Hindi mein baat karne ke liye aata hai kya? Yes, I came from Karnataka. Then I took this challenge. I said, yes, maybe ek effort karunga ye age mein. Hum bhi Hindi mein bolne ke liye prayas karunga. Okay, so aap English mein prayas kijiye. And this challenge, it also happened. Today, I am also to some extent, I am fluent in Hindi because of the challenge which my student thrown on me. It may look very funny, but I don't mind. And this is where the Puneet ji, the innovation is at the universities level. We must give an opportunity to make them to relate what they want, but our responsibility also to improve their enhancement and employability. The English we must not neglect it and ignore it.
Good afternoon to all.
we lose many of the opportunity for our students. And as Lakshmi ji and other member like Ashwini ji mentioned, it is not that by the time when we say the local languages, and if you translate everything in the local languages, I think we are creating another big round of confusion. And I think we will go back. Let us not do that. It is only to relate what they wanted to learn. That's all. And for example, for a computer, if you start talking about Ganaka Yantra and starting do that, I think we will do another kind of a mistake. And definitely, when we talk about NEP does not speak about it. Okay, NEP never ever tell that you do it in all NEP. And that is what we need to understand at the universities level and at the teachers level. And if you start making that mistake, I think we will have another disaster. Let us not do that. It is only to make them understand in case if they are thinking in their language. Otherwise, there is no need. Let us put more effort to employability enhancement by giving the good skills which they can compete at a global level. I will pause at this stage, Puneet. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Prabhu. In the beginning, Professor Seshwade quoted, this is not the time to talk, only talk about. This is time to execute. This is time to exercise policies. So I congratulate that we have already started adopting, exercising, implementing all those policies. And I'm sure those who are listening to this session and concurrently, they will be watching at YouTube as well as on Facebook. They would also take these examples to exercise. Now, coming to Lakshmi ji, confidence plays a vital role to lead a happy personal or professional life. So do you think that imparting education in regional language or local language, will it enhance the level of confidence amongst the students or candidates?
Again, it's for me personally, I can use examples from my life, right? I went from, depending on the environment for me, if I go from level A to level 10 or level 5 to level 10 environment, I'm going to feel underconfident because people around me are at a certain level 10. So whether it's language, whether it is thinking, whether it is, maybe social status, different reasons could impact my confidence. So that's mostly one of the key reasons I feel influences one's confidence level. And it applies even in the workplace, right? If I'm in an environment where people around me are all speaking in English and I'm the only one in vernacular, or the reverse. The first situation, if I'm the 1 out of 10 who are speaking vernacular, I'm going to be low on confidence. If I'm 9 out of 10 and there's one person who's speaking English, maybe, then this whole scale changes how I view. So now I have 9 friends, 9 people who are similar to me. So that's very critical. So it's not a one size fits all answer that, vernacular impacts confidence. There have been so many success stories of entrepreneurs, businessmen who have come from, very little English background and have gone on to build extremely successful businesses because they were in that environment where they didn't need to know English to succeed, or, they were having people around them who were vernacular and they've gone on to succeed. So a lot depends on, are we taking the person who's vernacular background and want him to succeed in a different environment where he or she has not been in, or where we are putting them in an environment to thrive. But yes, the typical scenario, I think what we are talking about is somebody coming from a vernacular education, let us say undergrad, is trying to go into a multinational or environment where there's predominantly English language. 100% there is going to be an impact on some confidence levels. That's where the nurture will come a little bit. Some people are learners. They take this as a challenge, like, we just saw Professor Prabhu was talking about how he said he learned Hindi or speaking in Hindi just to encourage and motivate even his students and took on a challenge. So some students who go to an environment which is new, moving from 5 to 10, take that as a challenge and say, I will move from 5 to 10. I will learn from people who are better than me. Some people will get, go back into a shell and they will say, oh, this environment, I cannot succeed because maybe they don't have support. Maybe they don't have, whether at the workplace or whether at home, Sometimes it's the inherent personality which dominates, where they're naturally introverts and then they go even more into shell. So whether I take it as a challenge and thrive and learn, whether I become, go into a shell, again, it is a combination of my nurture and nature combination. But largely, again, 70% of the time, most people don't very succeed easily, in an environment which is naturally not supportive for those coming from a non-English environment, unless there's extra effort. So that's my observation. And I've seen this happen to many people in my, environment. In the workplaces, I've seen people who struggle. They're not able to communicate, like I had explained in the previous, when we shared, it's the vicious cycle. If I can't explain, then, people around me don't understand. If they don't understand, everybody's getting frustrated. Somebody starts, dropping the ball and things start falling apart. But I just want to also comment about your previous question about innovation. Innovation is really about problem solving. And again, it doesn't have a bearing on vernacular or English. It is about, whether the academic environment is giving them exposure and helping them, solve problems. So for example, in the Startup India movement has launched several initiatives, even at school level, at college level. They're supporting incubators within college universities across the country. The Atal Innovation Mission is also helping schools thrive. So all of this, in fact, I came across a girl who happens to be, sitting in a small village in Tamil Nadu. She happens to be my driver's brother's daughter, and she's speaking such fluent English. And she had an innovation competition. She said nobody in the environment was able to help her guide with that project. So somehow they managed to, luckily call me. And she told me how brilliantly she's coming up with a solution using existing technology to help women, create security devices, alert devices, mechanisms using RFID if they're ever in danger, and implemented that in the footwear. And I was blown away. She's in 8th grade. So innovation, again, has no barriers about whether they're coming from vernacular background or English speaking background. It is just about whether they're getting exposure, whether they're being encouraged to think out of the box, whether they are talking about applying what you learn. That's really, I think, the thing. Will they thrive in an environment which is non-English speaking is a whole different ballgame and a whole different question, going back to your first part.
Thank you, Lakshmiji, for quoting this relevant example. And very well said by Roosevelt, no one can make you feel inferior without your own consent. So no matter whether you have learned in your own language or the international language of communication, English, what matters is what you know. First thing, of course, what you know is needed to be reciprocated in a proper manner, in a way that the other person can understand your thoughts. So for that purpose, gradually everyone learns, through practice or through, in a certain period of time of 4-6 months, we adopt. The moment you get shifted to a new place, a new country, Professor Prabhu has learned Hindi despite of the fact that he has never been in North India. So it takes less time to learn new things, but you need to be open. But I'm sure this step through NEP to impart education in regional language would make a great impact amongst the youth, society, economy, to build India as a giant power to provide manpower across the world. So before concluding the session, I would like to extend great thanks to Professor Dilip Malkhede, Professor Prabhu, Dr. Ashwini ji, Lakshmi ji, all the audiences, Professor Ari Gupta sir, all the audiences being with us, and please stay with us in coming sessions. We have more interesting topics, interesting guests as well. And this is all for the first session. And before we shift to the second session, Ketki ji, are you there?
Yes, Puneet ji, I'm here.
Okay. Is there anything to do in the first session, or shall we proceed with the second session?
I think we can proceed. I would just like to extend my warm thanks to all the panelists. It was indeed a very insightful sessions. And it was also a very passionate session, when we are talking about advantages of teaching and learning in the mother tongue. So thank you all.